Spoiler alert. If you have not listened to the Seventh Doctor Adventures, The Last Day, parts 1 and 2, this is your chance to click away now because we will be going in depth as we discuss what worked and what didn't about this release. If you wish to check out our spoiler-free review, that'll be linked down below. So, last chance. Here we go. Seventh Doctor, Last Day. Well, if you've seen our spoiler-free review, you'll know that we were
It's a
very
bit naff,
mixed
isn't it?
on this. Yeah, that's it. And I feel like it's naff to the point that we need to discuss why in more detail,
Mm-hmm.
because we sort of had to skirt around some issues in the spoiler-free review. Yeah, I mean, one of the big things, the big premise of this is that the Seventh Doctor has gone bad, essentially. He is the main villain. He's working with the Dark Citizens, who were introduced in Dark Universe before this. There they were working with the 11. At the end of that, you got a bit of a tease as to where things were going. I mean, that was 2020, wasn't it?
Yeah, first release of 2020,
Yeah.
Doctor Who wise. So yeah.
Yeah, pretty much 4 years before this began, really. That one, I think you were more positive on than I was.
Yeah, I like Dark Universe.
Yeah.
It's the one you need to listen to before you get to Last Day, and even that I don't think can help it.
No. I mean, do you think you were maybe even more let down by Last Day because you did enjoy Dark Universe?
I would say so. Yeah, because I think what it does with the Dark Citizens is more interesting in Dark Universe.
I don't know. To be fair, I think some things with the Dark Citizens worked better for me here.
I think there's some nice horror elements when you get to like their universe and that little hut.
Yeah, I liked everything set in their universe. I believe that's around part 9.
Yeah,
So Ace assembles a team of rogues,
their own
including
Suicide Squad, really.
yeah, you got Kane, the Master, Mother Finzi, Scoundrel, yeah, and they all end up going into the Dark Universe at the end of part 1, and then I think there's some rather nice stuff in there as it's set on. I believe it's meant to be Earth, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The Dark Universe's version of Earth. There's sort of stuff in a pub, but it's all very run down. And then you've got the Dark Citizen knocking at the door. I liked the way that they were bound by certain rules, even though they have the power to wipe everything out. I think it's nice that they're limited there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with Dark Universe, it seemed like, there was this thing of you let them in, you make a deal with them, but they're going to find a way to twist that against you.
There's some form like a devil, aren't they? In a way, you're bargaining with the devil with like the Dark Citizens.
It's never going to end well, and so I feel like that was sort of a bit lost here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it never really bit the Seventh Doctor in the arse at any point, him working with them.
Well, I think they've become a little bit redundant towards the Battle of Gallifrey. They just become quite a generic alien force where you could switch any other alien and it would have the same effect. With it, it's only when
there's villain decay there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Which is this concept that you introduce a very powerful threat, but the more you use them, the more you explore them, the less impactful they become.
Yes.
And I think that's very much the case here with the Dark Citizens as this story goes on. And yet that whole Battle of Gallifrey at the end, it's the last 2 parts, it did nothing for me.
It's just listening to the Big Finish Time War stuff. It's just
like
explosions.
Doom Coalition.
Yeah, very much that.
It wraps up in a similar way. I think much better. I think Stop the Clock is a pretty strong one. But yeah, here it's just a very bland battle. You've got Roz sacrificing herself again, which is sort of like, it's very much told to you right from when she's first introduced that
she's on borrowed time.
Yeah, the only way that they're gonna win is with her sacrifice. It's sort of Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, how Doctor Strange has like looked through all the different possibilities that could happen, and the only way they win involves Iron Man's sacrifice. And so here, that's basically what Ace has done. She's trying to work out how they can defeat the Doctor, and unfortunately, the only way that it works is with Roz's sacrifice. Which I mean, I quite like what that does with Ace. I think Ace comes off from this very well, actually.
She does, yeah, because she is the main character, really, despite it being the Seventh Doctor's last day. The Seventh Doctor's not in it a great deal. It's very much Ace leading.
Yeah, it's about her being put in these difficult positions that the Doctor used to be in with her. You know, her having to make those hard choices of who to sacrifice. And it's nice that she spends quite a lot of time with Kane, and he gets to call her out on a lot of that stuff, but not from a position of moral superiority. Almost like what Ace had when she called out the Seventh Doctor. He's got this position of, well, I'm just as bad as you, but at least I'm not pretending. And yeah, everything with Ace and Kane, I feel, worked very well for me.
That's really strong.
Yeah. And it's funny because when this was first announced, Kane was
left field.
One of those things that, you look at it.
Curveball.
But then, because you just think of Dragonfire as, a random Seventh Doctor TV story. But actually, it's Ace's first story. And when you put in that into the context of, like you said earlier, Ace is pretty much the main character of this, it works quite nicely for her to have her arc come back around to Kane in this alternative reality now where, the Seventh Doctor's been using the Dark Citizens to rewrite time. And
that's
so,
a really good idea. Seventh Doctor, master chess player. Of course, he's gonna, do it because he doesn't feel like his next incarnation's gonna have the guts to do it.
And so, what that results in is a universe where Kane's back. But yeah, and with that, he's trying to achieve everything on a grand scale, isn't he? You have quite a lot of monologues, which are just written perfectly for McCoy, as he's, discussing all that and
broth of
the
coffee,
balance of everything. Yeah, that's sort of where things get a bit confused, I feel.
Yeah,
is this whole idea that the whole universe has changed and we're now living in an alternate timeline of sorts. But also, are we? Because it doesn't look like anything gets fixed at the end.
Yeah, it's I guess it's a bit like a flux thing, isn't it?
It's sort of more, it is what it needs to be for different episodes, because then it turns out that Earth's history hasn't been changed. It's just that this reality diffuser device has been used for the past, I think, 6 years to change everyone on Earth's memory into believing it's a different reality. Which, it just feels like overcomplicating things a bit. Cause...
It feels very Russell Deus Ex Machina type finale logic, really.
Yeah, but if you're changing reality outside of Earth anyway, why do you have to worry about keeping Earth
normal
continuity going? Like, why not just have it all be set in an alternative reality?
When you've got it right there, haven't you?
Yeah, because that's how Kane's come about. That's how Roz is back, presumably. A lot of characters don't quite remember each other either, which I think works nicely for having this gang all come together. I suppose it makes sense of Mel's place and things, because presumably this is post... Well, it's got to be post older Mel arc from the monthly range here, because you've got the quantum possibility engine there. So that stuff's not necessarily been decanonized now by Mel coming back in the new series. And then maybe when... Like, you could have done a reality reset there, and then maybe that would have erased all the quantum possibility engine arc and the older Mel stuff.
I mean, at this point,
it just sort of leaves her in the same position as she was before, really.
I mean, at this point, with how lore heavy this release had with like Black and White TARDIS arc, Dark Universe, Quantum Possibility Engine, Third Doctor Adventures, Starlight Robbery, you might as well throw it in and just try and wrap up every loose end you've got, Big Finish wise, with the Seventh Doctor.
I did like teaming up of Lisa Bowerman and Bonnie Langford.
Yeah, that
He
works
knows
quite well.
Yeah, because they're two pretty big Seventh Doctor characters who I don't think have met in any other audio.
No, I don't think so. They might have met in like a Virgin New Adventure.
But certainly on audio, it's a new combo. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate when stories bring a lot of characters together but have different combinations rather than just going for the same easy choices.
I think one of my big negatives is we never really got to see the Master on trial on Skaro. We just see the Master dropped off by Mother Finsbury. And
it's very tacked on, isn't it?
Yeah, and you think that's one of the key things about the Seventh Doctor Last Days, the Master picking up the remains and all that. That's very throwaway moment at the end. It's like, oh yeah, of course, I've got to go there now.
It's very much a, oh yes, just remembered.
This is the whole reason.
Tie into this.
Yeah.
Let's quickly. Oh, and let's have the Master be rejuvenated again through some way because he wasn't Crispy Master in the TV movie. He was Richard Tipple. So
yeah, so it really, that was a massive sort of letdown. So I think that's something you always sort of wanted to explore, and you know, Big Finish is all about exploring gaps and stuff. And yeah, it was a shame it didn't do that.
I mean, the other weird thing there was that the Doctor mentions how the Daleks was one of his first easy decisions when it came to what to remove from the universe. And so it feels odd that when the Master goes to Skaro, the Daleks are there. Like, surely at that point in the story, they should still be removed.
Yeah,
like
non-existent.
When the Doctor took the Dark Citizens back into the Dark Universe, did that undo everything they did? Did he make them reset everything? Because surely otherwise there's no Daleks, unless he didn't deal with the Daleks and the Cybermen, and he was just saying, "Oh, they're the easy choices, so I'll sort them out when."
Well, I guess it goes back to like the Genesis monologue of like, you know, alliances will be forged because of the Daleks. But you know, I'm not making excuses for this. At least
format-wise, it's sort of anthology at times, isn't it? Particularly early on. Yeah. You're jumping around between different groups of characters from episode to episode, which in some ways worked because you get pretty strong episodes like the Seventh Doctor one you just mentioned. Yeah. And I do quite like the Ace gathering together her Suicide Squad episode. I think that's episode 2. I think that one. But then you also get the Benny and Mel episode. And 4. I liked the combination of them, but the storyline that they were put on with this alternative Gallifrey with the quantum possibility engine
and having Hobbs there, you're meant to know who Hobbs is, but you have no memory of Hobbs.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because the characters don't have any memory of him either. I mean, Benny never even met him.
Yeah,
and so it's when he's going, you know, it's me, Hob, and the reaction is who? And then you got the ending that almost it made me think at the time, oh, this is a villain we don't know. We're not meant to know. But then it turns out we did know. I'd listened to the story, Quantum Possibility Engine, I just forgot because it had been a while. I mean, they did say, you know, re-listened to it before, and ultimately didn't take too much away from it. I might have got more of a laugh out of that because of it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I did like the second, in part 2, the next time we went back to Mel and Benny and Hob. I think that episode was stronger.
Yeah.
But yeah, part 4 was a bit of a rough one. I think part 5 as well. Is Lysandra dead?
Well, the Sontarans killed her, didn't they?
Yeah, but so is that
unless it's all been
now?
undone?
Is that in the main time? Yeah, like that was. It was a bit of a
Sontarans actually there because, you know, that whole change in perceptions.
Yeah, it was a bit of a naff death as well.
Yeah,
like not necessarily in terms of how it happened, but just in terms of how it was performed. There's very much an overdramatic no, and then
That's it.
a bit of an overacted death. Yeah, it was a moment that was meant to be taken seriously, but it did nothing for me.
I think that sums up the last day.
But yeah, I think ultimately what's really disappointing is that you only get one last day, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least per incarnation, if you're a Time Lord. And so that's probably what lets this down even more.
And you can't help but compare it to the Sixth Doctor Last Adventure on how that celebrated, different aspects of that era of the Sixth Doctor. And then it all tied into, the actual brink of death. And you thought that Seventh Doctor Last Day would be the Seventh Doctor equivalent. And it's not that at all, is it, really?
No, it's just sort of this funny thing that when you next watch the TV movie, you'll think, oh yeah, that'll apparently happen before this.
Just doesn't land.
No, it just doesn't really fit with it. And part of that is that it doesn't feel like the story's making much of an effort to fit with it. Like, you could just drop a couple of things. And this would just be another Seventh Doctor story, really. Like the whole Master stuff, and then literally a couple of lines at the end about the Seventh Doctor, picking up those remains.
Mm-hmm. It's an afterthought, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And it makes you think more, would a story like this work better as more of just literally a Master story? Like, not even with the Doctor. Just a spin-off about Jeffrey Beavers or whatever incarnation.
Like a
and
one-off.
leading up to that trial. Perhaps, looking more into the whole setup of the Snake Master thing, because that's not in here at all.
No, that's forgotten about at all.
Yeah, and then, just at the end, you have a Seventh Doctor cameo as he comes to pick up the remains.
I think that probably would work better than what the Last Day is.
Yeah.
I think the Last Day tried to be too clever for its own good. And I think it just alienated a lot of people.
Yeah. What happened to Romana? Because wasn't she meant to be president of Gallifrey during all this time? Except the Seventh Doctor's now usurped her, whatever it. So where exactly is Romana and Leela? What's going on with that lot at this point?
In the Wastelands? I don't know. With the Shobogans?
Because even though she wasn't in Dark Universe, she was nevertheless mentioned. Like, that was a whole thing that the 11 was going on about, run along back to, Madam President and such. Like, she had one last summons for him after this. Where... It just feels like that was quietly swept under the rug as not important. We don't need to worry about that. And I mean, it would have just been yet another bunch of characters to throw on top of this. But it's only just occurred to me 6 months after having listened to part 1 of this. Where was all that?
The more you think about it, the more it becomes more of a mess.
Yeah. It might have made things worse. It might have made things better. I'm not sure at this point. I think I'm happy to stop talking about the Last Day now and not have to think about it again for a while.
We'll talk about it in the tier list, and then that will be us done with it.
We'll have washed our hands clean. I mean, are you still looking forward to more Seventh Doctor adventures?
No, not really.
Oh. I quite liked Far From Home, though.
I liked
what
Far
they were
From
getting
Home.
up with Harry and Naomi. So I'm hopeful that now that we're past this...
Where are they, actually? Where were they at the Last Day?
I don't know.
Probably thought, not getting involved in this crap.
Yeah, they're technically Fourth Doctor, so, they don't have to be involved.
That's true. Bless them.
They were probably better off out of it.
They were.
But, I'm hopeful that we get to go back to more younger race stuff in future.
I think it's a long time overcome just to have Seventh Doctor and Ace.
Yeah.
And with it being the 25th anniversary of Doctor Who Big Finish, let's go back to the roots where it all started.
Yeah, we've had the Last Day now. do what you did when you did.
Let's do
The Other
first days.
Daleks. Yeah. You know, that 2015. Okay, we're over 200 releases now. Let's do a reset and do some, back to basics Doctor Who. No more homework, lighten the load a bit. Let's just have some fun with the 7th Doctor again.
Yeah, I think that's all we can ask for, really.
Let us know all your spoiler-filled thoughts on the last day in the comments below. Please do feel free to discuss and, agree with us, disagree with us. All opinions are welcome. I really would like to hear from people who this did really work for and see what I'm missing. Tell me where I'm wrong here.
Make us want to re-listen to it.
Yeah, because we don't want to dislike any Doctor Who story, especially
we've paid money for it.
Yeah, we spent money on this. We want to like it. We want a return on our investment here. Try and convince us that this is worth another listen, that there's something we missed, and once that clicks, it will all suddenly start working.
But until then,
I'm willing to be proved wrong. But yeah,
and see. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.